Scarlet Summers stood at the gallows, the rope scratching her slender neck as the crowd gathered to witness her execution for crimes she never committed. The hot Arizona sun beat down on her pale skin as tears streamed down her dirt-smudged face. This was to be her end until a gunshot rang out, splitting the rope above her head and sending her tumbling to the wooden platform below. It was 1876 in the dusty town of Redemption, Arizona Territory. The West was still wild, lawless in many ways, and unforgiving to those without protection. Scarlet had learned this the hard way after fleeing St. Louis 2 years prior, running from a past that had finally caught up with her. As she scrambled to her feet amidst the chaos, strong arms lifted her from the platform. She looked up to see the face of a stranger, a tall man with piercing green eyes and a determined expression partially hidden beneath the shadow of his Stetson. "Name's Noah James," he said gruffly, practically throwing her onto his horse before mounting behind her. "Hang on tight, Mississippi. We're riding out of here." Scarlet didn't question him as he spurred the horse into a gallop, bullets whizzing past them as the sheriff and his deputies opened fire. She clung to the saddle horn, her heart pounding as they raced through the town's main street and out into the open desert. They rode for hours, the landscape changing from desert to sparse grassland as they headed north. Noah James said little, only stopping when his horse needed rest. By nightfall, they had reached a small creek lined with cottonwood trees. "We'll camp here," he said, dismounting and helping her down. "Should be safe enough for now." Scarlet watched him warily as he efficiently set up a small camp, building a fire that he kept deliberately low. "Why did you help me?" she finally asked, her voice hoarse from the rope and hours of silence. Noah looked up from the fire, his face illuminated by the flickering flames. "Because I know a frame job when I see one. Sheriff Daniels is corrupt as they come, and I've been tracking his operation for months." "You're not a regular cowboy, then," Scarlet observed. "Pinkerton," he replied. "Or I was. Now I work for myself, cleaning up messes the law won't touch." Scarlet wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly feeling the desert chill. "Thank you for saving my life, Mr. James, but I can't pay you." He handed her a cup of coffee that he'd brewed over the fire. "Not asking for payment, just information. Who are you running from, Miss Summers?" Her head snapped up. "How do you know my name?" "Your wanted poster. It's all over the territory. Scarlet Summers wanted for theft, fraud, and murder. Only the poster doesn't match what I've learned about you." Scarlet's hands trembled around the tin cup. "And what have you learned?" "That before you came west, you were Scarlet Sanders, a respected teacher in St. Louis. That you disappeared the same night a prominent banker was found dead. And that his son has been hunting you ever since." Tears welled in her eyes. "Victor Montgomery," she whispered. His father was going to expose him for embezzlement. I overheard them arguing that night. I didn't mean to, but I was working late at the school grading papers. The school shares a wall with the bank. Noah nodded, encouraging her to continue. "Victor saw me leaving. He knew I had heard everything. I ran home to pack my things, but when I returned to speak with Mr. Montgomery, to tell him I would testify, I found him dead, and Victor standing over him." Her voice broke. "He said no one would believe me, that he would say I was his father's mistress, that I killed him when he threatened to end our affair. His family owns half the city, so I ran." Noah was quiet for a long moment. "And he's been chasing you ever since, using his connections to paint you as a criminal." Scarlet nodded, wiping away tears. "Every time I start to build a new life, he finds me. I've been a teacher, a seamstress, a saloon girl. It doesn't matter. He always finds me. The last time, in Tucson, he had fabricated evidence so convincing that even I started to doubt my own memories. That ends now, Noah said firmly. Victor Montgomery is in for a rude awakening. What do you mean? I mean that I've been hired to investigate a series of bank robberies across the territory. Robberies that lead back to the Montgomery Banking Group's western expansion. He leaned forward. Your Victor has been stealing from his own family's banks to cover his tracks. And now I have a witness who can connect him to his father's murder. Hope fluttered in Scarlet's chest, but she quickly tamped it down. He's too powerful. His reach is too wide. Noah's eyes hardened. No man is above justice, Miss Summers. Not in my book. They spent the night by the creek, Scarlet sleeping fitfully on a bedroll Noah provided. When she woke, he was already preparing breakfast salted pork and beans that smelled better than any fine meal she'd had in months. We're heading to my homestead, he told her as they ate. It's about a day's ride from here, near a small settlement called Willow Creek. You'll be safe there while I gather what I need against Montgomery. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. You don't know me. Noah's expression softened slightly. I know what it's like to be hunted for something you didn't do, to have your reputation destroyed. He rolled up his sleeve to reveal a branded D on his forearm. Army marked me as a deserter during the war. Truth was, I was following orders on a scouting mission. Got captured by Confederate forces, spent 8 months in a prison camp. By the time I got back to my unit, they'd already branded me in absentia. Scarlet reached out instinctively, her fingers tracing the scarred letter. I'm sorry. Took me 3 years to clear my name, he said, pulling his sleeve down. So I know something about fighting to get your life back. They rode out as the sun crested the eastern horizon. Scarlet found herself studying Noah as they traveled the strong set of his shoulders, the confident way he handled his horse, the occasional smile that transformed his stern face when he pointed out a hawk soaring above or a particularly beautiful vista. By mid-afternoon, they crested a hill, and Noah pulled his horse to a stop. Below them stretched a small valley, green with summer growth, a creek winding through it. On a gentle rise sat a modest but well-built cabin, a barn, and corrals with several horses grazing nearby. That's home, he said, a note of pride in his voice. Not much, but it's mine. It's beautiful, Scarlet breathed, taking in the peaceful scene. As they approached, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair emerged from the cabin, rifle in hand. Upon seeing Noah, she lowered the weapon and waved. That's Elvira, Noah explained. She keeps an eye on the place when I'm gone. Widow from the next valley over. Toughest woman I know. Elvira greeted them at the gate, her weathered face breaking into a smile. Brought home a pretty one this time, I see, she said, eyeing Scarlet. Better than those outlaws you usually drag in. Miss Summers needs sanctuary, Elvira, Noah said, helping Scarlet dismount. She's in trouble, but not the kind you're thinking. Aren't they all? Elvira muttered, but her eyes were kind as she took Scarlet's arm. Come on inside, dear. You look like you could use a hot bath and a decent meal. The cabin was surprisingly comfortable inside, simple but clean, with solid furniture and shelves lined with books. Elvira set about heating water for a bath while Noah tended to the horses. He's a good man, Elvira said as she worked, seeming to read Scarlet's thoughts. Too solitary for his own good, but the best man I know. Saved my son from hanging 2 years back when he was falsely accused of cattle rustling. He seems to make a habit of rescuing people, Scarlet observed. Elvira smiled. Only the innocent ones. He's got a nose for truth, that one. If he's helping you, you must be worth helping. After her bath, the first proper one she'd had in months, Scarlet felt somewhat reborn. Elvira had provided a simple dress that was only slightly too large, and combed out her long auburn hair until it shone. When she emerged into the main room, Noah was at the table studying papers. He looked up, and for a moment he seemed speechless. Better, he finally said, clearing his throat. You look better. Elvira rolled her eyes behind him. Eloquent as always, Noah James. Over dinner, Noah outlined his plan. I need to ride to Denver. The territorial marshal there owes me a favor, and he's been building a case against banking fraud that I think connects to Montgomery. With your testimony about the murder, we might finally have enough to bring him down. I'm coming with you, Scarlet said immediately. Noah shook his head. Too dangerous. Montgomery has eyes everywhere. That's precisely why I should come, she insisted. I've been evading him for 2 years. I know his methods, his men, and I'm tired of running, Mr. James. I want my life back. Noah studied her, seeing the determination in her eyes. It'll be a hard journey. Denver's a week's ride, and we'll be exposed. I've endured worse, she said simply. Something passed between them, a recognition, perhaps, of a kindred spirit. Noah nodded. We leave at dawn. They set out the next morning. Scarlet, now properly outfitted in riding clothes Elvira had altered for her overnight. Noah had given her a small revolver, showing her how to load and fire it. Hope you won't need it, he said. But better to have it and not need it. The journey north took them through rugged country canyons and high desert plateaus, across shallow rivers and through mountain passes. They avoided towns when possible, camping under the stars. Each night, as they sat by the fire, Scarlet found herself opening up more to this quiet, principled man who had risked his life for a stranger. She told him of her childhood in Pennsylvania, of losing her parents to influenza and being raised by her grandmother, of her dreams of educating children in the expanding West. In turn, Noah shared stories of his own past, growing up on a small farm in Ohio, joining the Union Army at 18, his work with the Pinkertons after the war. On their 4th night on the trail, camped in a sheltered grove of aspens, Noah finally asked the question she'd been dreading. Was there something between you and Montgomery? Before everything happened. Scarlet stared into the fire. He courted me briefly. I was flattered at first, the banker's son, interested in a simple schoolteacher. But I soon realized he viewed me as a possession, not a person. When I ended things, he became persistent. His father apologized to me for his behavior. I think that's why Victor was so quick to implicate me in the murder. Revenge for the rejection and a convenient scapegoat. Noah's jaw tightened. Some men can't accept that women have minds of their own. And what about you, Mr. James? She asked, her voice soft in the darkness. What do you think about women with minds of their own? His eyes met hers across the fire. I think they're the only kind worth knowing. Something shifted between them that night, a door opening to possibilities neither had considered before. The next day, as they approached a small trading post to resupply, Noah suddenly pulled his horse up short, signaling for Scarlet to do the same. Riders, he said, pointing to dust trails in the distance. 4 of them, coming in fast from the east. Scarlet felt her heart sink. Montgomery's men? Could be. We need to move. He led them off the trail, pushing deeper into a rocky ravine that offered cover. They dismounted, leading the horses carefully over the uneven ground. There's an old mining cabin about 2 miles from here, Noah whispered. We can hole up there until they pass. They reached the abandoned cabin as the sun was setting. It was little more than a shack, its roof partially collapsed, but it offered concealment. Noah hid the horses in a stand of scrub pine behind the structure while Scarlet cleared debris from the floor inside. As darkness fell, they heard the riders approaching. Noah extinguished their small lantern and moved to the window, peering out cautiously. 4 men, he confirmed in a whisper. They're moving slow, searching the area. Scarlet joined him at the window. In the moonlight, she could see the riders clearly as they passed within 100 yards of the cabin. The one in front, she breathed. That's Ryder. He's Montgomery's head enforcer. Noah's hand went to his revolver. If they find us, I want you to slip out the back. Take my horse, he's faster, and ride hard for Willow Creek. Elvira will help you. I'm not leaving you, Scarlet said fiercely. Before he could argue, they heard a hoarse whinny, one of their mounts responding to the passing riders. The lead rider's head snapped up. Check that cabin, Ryder ordered, pointing directly at their hideout. Noah pulled Scarlet away from the window. No choice now. We fight. He handed her the smaller of his two revolvers. Remember what I showed you. Stay low. The next few minutes were a blur of gunfire and shouting. Two riders approached the cabin while Ryder and the fourth man circled behind. Noah took down one immediately with a precise shot through the window. Scarlet, crouched in the corner, fired at movement by the back door, her bullet splintering the doorframe near the intruder's head. James! Ryder called from outside. We know you have the woman. Hand her over and you can ride away from this. Not happening, Ryder, Noah shouted back, moving to a different position. Tell Montgomery his days of hunting innocent women are over. Another exchange of gunfire erupted. Noah was hit in the arm but managed to take down a second man. As the firefight continued, Scarlet noticed smoke beginning to fill the cabin. They're burning us out, she gasped. Noah looked grim. Back door. Now. They slipped out as flames began to engulf the front of the cabin. In the confusion, they managed to reach their horses. Noah, despite his injury, mounted quickly and pulled Scarlet up behind him on his horse. Hold tight, he commanded, spurring the horse into a gallop. They rode hard through the night, the sounds of pursuit eventually fading behind them. Noah's wound was bleeding badly, and Scarlet could feel him weakening as they rode. We need to stop, she insisted when she felt him sway in the saddle. You're losing too much blood. He didn't argue, which frightened her more than the wound itself. They found shelter in a shallow cave near a small stream. Scarlet helped him dismount, alarmed at how pale he looked in the moonlight. I need to clean the wound, she said, tearing strips from her petticoat. This will hurt. Noah gritted his teeth as she washed the bullet graze with water from their canteen. Not as bad as it looks, he managed. Bullet went clean through. Scarlet wasn't convinced but worked quickly to bandage his arm. Rest now. I'll keep watch. Scarlet, he said, his voice rough with pain. If something happens to me, nothing is going to happen to you, she interrupted firmly. I didn't survive 2 years on the run to lose the first person who believed in me. His eyes, fever bright, searched her face. You're the strongest woman I've ever met. Impulsively, she leaned down and kissed him a brief, gentle press of her lips against his. When she pulled back, he was looking at her with wonder. What was that for? He asked. For giving me hope, she answered simply. By morning, Noah's fever had broken. They continued their journey, now traveling by night and hiding during daylight hours. The encounter with Ryder's men had shaken them both, but it had also cemented something between them, a partnership born of shared danger and growing affection. 3 days later, they reached Denver. The city was bustling with activity, a stark contrast to the wilderness they traversed. Noah led them to a modest boarding house run by a former Pinkerton agent who asked no questions when they arrived dusty and exhausted. Stay here, Noah instructed after they had cleaned up and changed into the city clothes his friend had provided. I'll go speak with Marshal Tucker. I'm coming with you, Scarlet insisted. My testimony is what will make the case against Montgomery. Noah recognized the determination in her eyes and nodded. Stay close to me. Marshal William Tucker's office was in the federal building downtown. A tall, imposing man with a handlebar mustache, he greeted Noah with a firm handshake. James, Thought you'd retired to that homestead of yours. Got pulled back in, Noah replied, introducing Scarlet. Miss Summers has information about Victor Montgomery that connects to your banking fraud investigation. Tucker's eyebrows rose. The Scarlet Summers? The one wanted for murder in St. Louis. The same, Scarlet said, holding her head high. Except I didn't kill anyone. Victor Montgomery did his own father. I witnessed the aftermath, and he's been framing me ever since to keep me quiet. For the next hour, Scarlet detailed everything she knew, the embezzlement she had overheard, finding Montgomery Sr.'s body, Victor's threats, and her subsequent flight west. Noah added what he had learned about Montgomery's connection to the bank robberies, presenting evidence he had gathered over the previous months. Tucker listened intently, taking notes and occasionally asking clarifying questions. When they finished, he sat back in his chair. This is compelling, he admitted. Combined with what we already have on the banking irregularities, it might be enough for an indictment. But Montgomery is in St. Louis, outside my jurisdiction. He's not, Noah said. According to my sources, he's in Colorado Springs right now, overseeing the opening of their newest branch. That puts him squarely in territorial jurisdiction. Tucker's eyes narrowed. You're certain? Saw the announcement in the Denver Post yesterday, Noah confirmed. Grand opening ceremony tomorrow. A slow smile spread across Tucker's face. Well then, I believe we have a banking event to attend. The plan was set. Tucker would travel to Colorado Springs with a contingent of deputies. Noah and Scarlet would accompany them, but stay out of sight until needed. The marshal would confront Montgomery with the banking fraud evidence first, then bring in Scarlet as the surprise witness to the murder. That night, in the small room they shared at the boarding house, Scarlet couldn't sleep. Tomorrow would determine whether she could reclaim her life or be forever branded a criminal. Noah found her standing by the window, staring out at the city lights. You should rest, he said softly. I can't stop thinking about facing him, she admitted. What if he denies everything? What if people still believe him over me? Noah moved to stand behind her, his hands gently resting on her shoulders. Tucker has the banking evidence. That alone will damage Montgomery's credibility. And I'll be there with you. Scarlet turned to face him, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. What happens after? If this works? You'll be free, he said simply. Free to be Scarlet Sanders again. Free to teach, to build a life wherever you choose. And if I choose Willow Creek? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Noah's eyes darkened. Is that what you want? In answer, she rose on her tiptoes and kissed him, not the brief touch of lips from days before, but a real kiss, full of longing and promise. His arms wrapped around her, drawing her close as he deepened the kiss. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Noah rested his forehead against hers. I've never met anyone like you, he murmured. Nor I you, she replied, her hands framing his face. You gave me back my hope, Noah James, and something else I thought I'd never find out here in the wild. That night, they came together as lovers, finding in each other's arms a sanctuary neither had known was possible. The next morning, they rode to Colorado Springs with Tucker and his men. The new Montgomery Bank was an imposing structure on the town's main street, decorated with banners for the grand opening. A crowd had gathered to hear Victor Montgomery speak from the steps. Scarlet felt sick watching him, handsome, confident, charming the crowd with promises of prosperity. The same man who had murdered his father in cold blood and destroyed her life without remorse. Ready? Noah asked, squeezing her hand. She nodded, drawing strength from his presence. They watched as Marshal Tucker approached the bank steps just as Montgomery concluded his speech. The crowd fell silent as Tucker identified himself and announced that he had a warrant for Montgomery's arrest on charges of bank fraud and embezzlement. Montgomery's smooth facade cracked slightly, but he quickly recovered. "This is preposterous," he declared loudly. "My family has been in banking for 3 generations. These charges are baseless. We have evidence that you've been systematically stealing from your own family's banks," Tucker stated. "But that's not all we're here for." At Tucker's signal, Noah escorted Scarlet forward. The crowd murmured as they recognized the woman whose face had been on wanted posters throughout the territory. Montgomery's face went pale when he saw her. "This woman is a fugitive," he sputtered. "A murderess." "No," Scarlet said, her voice ringing clear across the hushed crowd. "I am a witness to your crimes, Victor. I heard you arguing with your father about the money you had stolen. And I saw you standing over his body that night." "Lies," Montgomery shouted, but the crowd was turning against him, muttering at the conviction in Scarlet's voice. "We have banking records," Tucker continued relentlessly. "We have witness testimony. And we have this." He held up a telegram. "Confirmation from the St. Louis police that the murder weapon found in your father's office bears your fingerprints. Not Miss Sanders." Montgomery looked wildly around, like a trapped animal. Suddenly, he lunged toward Scarlet, a small derringer appearing in his hand. "You ruined everything," he screamed. Noah moved faster, throwing himself between them as Montgomery fired. The bullet grazed Noah's shoulder as he tackled Montgomery to the ground. Tucker's deputies swarmed in, disarming Montgomery and hauling him to his feet. "Noah!" Scarlet cried, kneeling beside him. "Just a scratch," he grunted, though blood stained his shirt. "Seems I'm making a habit of getting shot for you." Relief flooded through her as she helped him up. Tucker approached them as his men led a struggling Montgomery away. "You'll both need to testify at the trial," the marshal said. "But with the evidence we have, it's just a formality. Miss Sanders, consider your name cleared." Tears welled in Scarlet's eyes. "Thank you, Marshal." They stayed in Colorado Springs for 2 weeks, while Noah's wound healed and Montgomery was processed for transfer back to St. Louis to face murder charges. Tucker arranged for all charges against Scarlet to be dropped and sent telegrams to St. Louis clearing her name. On their last night in town, Noah took Scarlet to dinner at the hotel restaurant. He seemed nervous, fidgeting with his collar and barely touching his food. "Is your shoulder bothering you?" Scarlet asked, concerned. "No, it's fine," he assured her. I've been thinking about what happens next." Scarlet's heart skipped. "And what have you decided?" "Nothing. Everything." He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "Scarlet, these past weeks, I've never felt this way about anyone. But you're free now. You can go anywhere, be anyone. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to return to teaching in a proper city, not some small settlement in the middle of nowhere." She reached across the table to take his hand. "Noah James, are you trying to talk me out of loving you?" His eyes widened. "You love me." "Of course I do, you impossible man," she said softly. "How could I not? You believed in me when no one else would. You risked your life for me. You showed me that there are good men in this world after I'd started to doubt it." Noah squeezed her hand, his eyes never leaving hers. "I love you too, Scarlet, more than I thought possible. And He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I want to give you my name, if you'll have it." Inside the box was a simple gold ring with a small diamond. "It was my mother's," he explained. "I had Elvira send it when I wrote to her last week." Tears spilled down Scarlet's cheeks as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll have your name." They were married 3 days later in a small ceremony at the town church, with Marshal Tucker as their witness. The journey back to Willow Creek felt different somehow, no longer a flight from danger but a journey home. When they crested the hill overlooking Noah's homestead, Scarlet felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. Elvira was waiting for them, having prepared the cabin for the newlyweds' return. "Welcome home, Mrs. James," she said warmly, embracing Scarlet. That night, as they lay together in their bed, Noah traced the faint marks on Scarlet's neck where the rope had burned her at the gallows. "No more chains," he whispered, kissing the marks tenderly. "No more running." Scarlet curled against him, savoring the solid warmth of his body next to hers. "I never thought I'd find this," she admitted. "A home. Someone to love who loves me in return." "You have both now," he promised. "For as long as we both shall live." 1 year later, Noah and Scarlet James welcomed their first child, a daughter they named Hope. The homestead had expanded, with a new schoolhouse where Scarlet taught the children of neighboring farms and ranches. Noah still occasionally took on investigation work, but more often stayed close to home, expanding their ranch and building a life together. Victor Montgomery was convicted of his father's murder and died in prison 3 years later. The chain that had bound Scarlet's past was broken for good, replaced by the golden band on her finger and the name she now proudly carried. In the wild territory of Colorado, where second chances were as vast as the horizon, Scarlet had found not just redemption, but love that would last a lifetime.